Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. Good morning. Welcome to the video. We're going to talk a little bit about obviously yesterday's game, and look, I want my club back. I want it back to being what it was. I think yesterday's got to be seen as the end of an era, the changing of a guard, the kind of moving on, and an old firm game that's probably going to be more remembered for a tifo and than anything else. I think that's probably going to be the only thing that game is remembered for. I don't think it's remembered for the content of the game. The game wasn't great, was it? It wasn't a particularly end-to-end game. It wasn't a particularly high-velocity game. There was no particular nasty challenges in it. Wasn't particularly a great deal in the game at all. I mean, it wasn't the best of games, shall we say? It was kind of like a dead rubber kind of feel to it, didn't it? Kind of a, I don't know. After all we said about every game meaning something, that one kind of had nothing going really much. We'll kind of summarise it shortly. Like I said, I think a lot of people talk about obviously that tifo and obviously reference the video yesterday. Look, I'll say what I said again. I thought it was a fantastic tifo, great Star Wars reference. I think there's a lot of people blowing it out of all proportion. I think Patrick Stewart is a complete woke lefty joke. I think he should be sacked. I know he won't be, but hey, that's just my view. I hate woke lefties. I can't stand them. I can't stand wokeism. I just think it's an absolute joke. You know what? And if you don't agree, if you don't like it, there's the fucking door. Use it. I don't really care. You don't want to watch? Fuck off. I don't care. At the end of the day, I have my opinion. You don't like the opinion? Don't watch the podcast. That's the end of the story. That's how it's always going to be, guys. I take a lot from. I'm a massive, huge fan of Mark Goldbridge, and Mark Goldbridge says it as he says it as he feels, says it as he thinks it is, and if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. Same again here, guys. If you're a woke lefty, use the door. Right. Anyway, let's talk about yesterday's game, shall we? Look, I think the game was poor. I thought the only performance for me that really stood out. I thought Dio was decent. I thought Dio played quite well. I'd give him a 7 out of 10. I thought Raskin was excellent. I thought Raskin was absolutely brilliant yesterday. I thought he ran rings around everyone else. Absolutely dominated the game. He made Callum McGregor look utterly pathetic. He really did. I mean, he was by far the best player on that pitch by an absolute street. He really was. And I mean, Arna who? Callum who? I think that all that was down to Nico Raskin. Obviously unlucky not to score. I mean, look, he was offside realistically. VAR got it right. Even Chris Boyd came out and said that VAR got it right on that goal, which is fair enough. I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was absolutely superb. And I will be openly honest with you now. I am absolutely terrified. I am absolutely petrified because, you know what, there is going to be people down south in the EPL watching that game today, and people will watch that game today. You will have scouts from Premier League clubs watching that game today, and they will be interested in Nicolas Raskin, and there will be Premier League teams looking at Nicolas Raskin. Trust me, he's good. He is very, very good. And like I said, I thought he was absolutely excellent today. Brilliant performance. So yesterday, I think he's been the player of the season, as the awards said. Whatever you think of those awards. And today, again, dominated the game. Was head and shoulders above anything else on that pitch by a street, by a mile. No one came close to him. 9 out of 10 for me for Raskin today. I thought Barron did a good job as well. I thought, Conor Barron's coming from a lot of criticism from some elements of our so-called support over the last few weeks, months, etc. But I thought he did very well today. He was quietly effective in that Rangers midfield. And, I thought, while Celtic got on top a little bit more in the second half, I thought, the midfield was never really overrun massively. And, I thought, Barron did a particularly effective job. He was good. I mean, I thought Bayrami was a waste of space again. Absolute waste of time. Václav Černý, I thought, the dummy for the Dessers goal was excellent. The way he takes, obviously, people out of the game with that dummy, brilliant from him. Had an effort as well that I think was it Sinsalo, the Celtic goalkeeper, tipped over. He was absolutely raging at being taken off, and rightly so. I mean, I'd be absolutely pissed off as well if I was taken off as probably one of the most attacking, talented players who can do anything with the ball and can beat a man and go round a man and inject excitement into a game, and you've still got Cyril Dessers on the pitch. I would be really pissed off as well if I was Václav Černý. I'd be seriously going to the manager and saying, why are you leaving that donkey on the pitch and taking me off? Dessers obviously scores his goal. Good finish. Well done, Cyril. Good finish. Misses a volley late on. Misses a chance late on. Thought he was average. 5 out of 10. 6 out of 10 maximum. Wasn't great at all. I've got to say, I don't know why he keeps getting picked. I mean, yes, he scores the odd goal, but he needs about 10 to 15 chances just to score one. And, Barry Ferguson was asked post-game about what, Cortez getting more game time, Danilo getting more game time. And I thought his response was pathetic, to be honest with you. He talked about the fact that they may get opportunities, etc., etc. Well, it's not fucking rocket science. Barry just dropped Dessers, who takes 20 chances to score one, and actually play the strikers that don't. Play Hamza through the middle, for example, and he'd probably score more goals than Dessers with the chances that get created. I mean, it's not bloody rocket science. I think it's just further proof that Barry Ferguson really is not the man to take this club forward. He really genuinely isn't. Balogun I thought was very good as well. Played well, 7 out of 10 for me for Balogun today. Unlucky not to score. I mean, Big Leon, I love Big Leon to bits. Would have been a great way for him to kind of sign off his Rangers career, because I think it is kind of coming to an end, that header that hits the top of the crossbar. Suter was solid enough. I think, obviously the mistake. He contributed to that goal. I mean, yeah, he could have cleared it. But, I mean, again, that's down to Tavernier. I mean, James Tavernier is to blame for that Celtic goal, 100%. The attack comes down his side, loses his man yet again. I mean, to be fair, Celtic ran ragged down his side all game. He was awful, absolutely awful. Tavernier, 4 out of 10 maximum. That has to be his last ever Old Firm game. I mean, if James Tavernier plays and starts the next Old Firm game next season, we're in trouble. We're in big, big trouble if he's still here next season. He's got to go. Liam Kelly was solid in goal. Solid, 6 out of 10. Did all right. Sound. I've got to say, Hiefte, oh my God. Is he a competition winner? I mean, is he? I don't know. I mean, does anybody remember the Ali Dai story? About the bloke who rang Graham Souness up and claimed to be George Ware and said that this guy was his cousin and he should pick him for Southampton, and he did, and he was not even any of those things. He was a complete charlatan, a complete fraud. He never played professional football. He got on the Premier League pitch and he played, and he was awful. I think Hiefte could be that person. Perhaps someone rang Rangers and said that they were Roberto Carlos, and this man was Roberto Carlos's cousin, and that's how he got a game, because he looks awful. He looks absolutely shocking. He just doesn't inspire any confidence whatsoever. He gives the ball away far too cheaply. He can't defend to save his life. He looks shaky going forward. He looks shaky going back. I mean, he was awful today. I mean, I'd say 2 out of 10 at very most, and that's being generous. He was that bloody bad. He really was. Hamza got on, 4 out of 10. He wasn't great today either. Didn't play particularly well. But again, like I said, the guy should be starting. Start him through the middle. He'll score you more goals than Dessers, guarantee it. But I'll tell you something. There seems to be some. I don't know if Dessers has got naked pictures of Barry Ferguson's missus or something. I don't know how he gets in the team. I really don't. Bailey Rife was given 10 minutes. What a pointless experience that was, to replace the injured Yanis Hadji. Hadji, obviously, the penalty incident. I don't think it's a penalty. I genuinely don't think it's a penalty. I think it's just Callum McGregor and Hadji coming together. You've got James McFadden, you've got Chris Boyd even saying it's not a penalty. I mean, I don't think it would have been a ridiculously soft penalty had it been given. Yes, we'd have all celebrated it. Of course we would, because it would have been meant we probably would have won the game. But look, 1-1 wasn't the best of games. Wasn't the best of games. It's a point. It comes out that, I mean, the positive you can take from today, it means that we have beaten them more than they've beaten us this season. There's been 2 draws, 2 wins and a defeat. So, pretty decent Old Firm record this season from a team that is poor, from a very poor Rangers team. Kind of shows how bad Celtic really are, don't they? I mean, probably one of the worst champions in Scottish Premier League history. Not even to be able to beat us at home, considering we have been absolutely shite this season, and we're a poor side. But like I said, the positives we take out of it is obviously that they haven't beaten us. They've only beaten us once this season. We've beaten them more than they've beaten us. Nicholas Raskin, huge positive. Diamonde, positive. Balogun, positive for today. There was positives. Of course, there's positives. But today has to be the end of an era. I want my team back. I want my football club back. I want my Rangers back at the top of the Scottish game. I want them back dominating Scottish football. And hopefully, the takeover, no matter what you think of the 49ers, and we had some very weird comments last night on the videos. I've got to say some, what I would describe as very anti-American comments. I'd even go as on the border of racist comments from certain individuals. I think, at the end of the day, you look at it and we have to have a more positive outlook going into the new season. There is a lot to decide. Obviously, the main thing that needs to be decided over the next sort of few weeks, realistically, has to be the management position. Hopefully today has put the death knell on anybody wanting Barry Ferguson to be the next Rangers manager. I've got to say that, as a Rangers fan, and as someone who loves this club, as someone who's supported this club since 1986, 1987, someone who chose to support this football club, someone who chose to get behind this football club, and gets a lot of abuse for it. Gets an awful lot of abuse from what I see, because I speak my mind. I speak as I find. That's the way I am. And you even get people from other podcasts abusing me. And you know what? It's because your podcast shit and no one wants to watch it. At the end of the day, you've got to look at it like this. This club, we want this club back. We want it back to where it was. We want it back to the Walter Smith days, the Graham Souness days, the Dick Advocat days, the Alex McLeish days. And, I think we've finally got owners now, hopefully, once this takeover finalises, who can put us back where we belong, back at the top of the Scottish game. And people can talk about that being, what's the word I'm looking for, arrogant, expectancy. We can talk about it being, I can't think of the word that I'm looking for at this moment in time. But, you know what I mean. I just think that at the end of the day, it's not arrogance. It's not, it's not entitlement. It's history. It's where we are. We are a club that dominates on the whole. Before obviously 2012 and everything went on pre-2012 and post-2012. Celtic were miles behind us in terms of trophies, and had the relegation not happened and had the starting back at the bottom not happened, would they be so far ahead of us? So far, would they have had the opportunity to come back? And become equal with us? Probably not. Celtic are a club that have benefited from cheating because of the fact that they count war trophies, which no one else in the world counts, and B, the fact that the biggest rivals, the main team in Scotland, were out of the picture for several seasons. So, that's the way it is. They have benefited. They have been lucky. They have sailed under a lucky star. And they are the worst champions in recent history. Like I said, they've only beaten us once this season. And this is probably, I think you ask most Rangers fans, most level-headed, normal Rangers fans, they'll say this is one of the worst Rangers teams in history. It really genuinely is. But, look, I've got to say, I want my football club back. I want my football club back. I want them back to where they were. I want them back to what they were. That's what I want. I want my football club back. And one of the things, like I said, that has got to be decided is the management position. It's got to be decided pretty soon. I get why they're not doing it, because they don't want to undermine Barry Ferguson as manager. A manager who has a 33% win ratio, just to let you know after today. Ferguson said this. He said this post-match. There's a lot of work to be done, and the club need to make that decision about who's going to be leading the team pretty soon. I think, this is kind of he wants the job and he wants to know whether he's got the job. That's kind of the quote we're doing. Well, Barry, you don't deserve the job. I'm sorry, mate. You're a Rangers legend, yes. I love you to bits as a Rangers player. I loved you on the field as a Rangers captain. I love what you did for the club, but I'm sorry, you're a disaster as manager. Your team selections are garbage. Your in-game management's poor. Your substitutions just are a joke. You're tactically naive. Your win percentages over your whole managerial career is 42%. Your win percentages at Rangers is 33%. I'm sorry, we need someone with experience. We need someone who can actually manage a football club. Barry Ferguson's is just not a manager. And I would have loved, don't get me wrong, I would have loved it if he'd come in, if we'd got to, say, the semis of the Europa League. Look, we were never going to win it. And we'd won all our remaining SPL games, and we'd gone on to have a really successful end to the season. Would have loved it, because then, give him the job. Give him the bloody job. He would have been fantastic for the job, because he gets the club, But to me, it seems that some fans are solely working on the basis that because he's staunch and because he's played for Rangers and he's a Rangers fan, he has to have the job. Well, in that case, then there's 50,000 people you could give. If the only qualification to become a Rangers manager was that you had to be staunch, a Rangers fan, for example, which seems to be the two qualifications that most people are going for, then there's 50,000 people that go to Ibrox, 50,000 plus people that go to Ibrox every week that could have the job. And give me the fucking job. There you go. Give mine from the rabble the job. Give David Edgar the job. They're all staunch. They're all Rangers supporters. Give them the job. If that's the qualifications we're now going for to become the next manager of Rangers, to me, it's got to be someone with experience. It's got to be someone who's managed at the European level. It's got to be someone who's managed big clubs. It's got to be someone who has experience of signing players and working with players signed for them, following that European model, which we now seem to be following with obviously the appointment of Kevin Thelwell and whatever happens to Niels Koppen. The way that the modern football club works is not that the manager signs players, not that the manager does contracts. That's the way of the past. That doesn't happen anymore. It's down to the sporting director, it's down to the technical director, whoever it is behind the scenes that runs the signing side of the business. Yes, there is some element of input from the manager, but you look at all sports around the world now. Whilst the head coaches of all teams have an input, they don't have the final say on who is signed and who is not signed, on who is traded, sold, etc., etc. You look at Europe, you look at Barcelona, Real Madrid, Hansi Flick, Carlo Ancelotti, Luis Enrique at Paris Saint-Germain. They are not the people who sign the players for those football clubs. Yes, they have some input, but it is the sporting directors that sign the players. You look at hockey in the States, you look at the NFL, it's not the head coach that signs or trades the players, it's the general manager that does it. And it's becoming the same in British football now, in European football, that it's the sporting director. So anybody who believes that, give Barry a year, let him get his players in, well, he won't be the man getting the players in, because it won't be him signing the players. It'll be Thelwell, it'll be Coppen, it'll be the scouting team. That's who'll be getting the players in, not Barry Ferguson. So let's move away from that, and let's kind of get this out of our heads that Barry Ferguson should be the next manager, because the guy's not up to the job, and he's proven that. He's had an audition and he's failed it. Like I said, I want my football club back. I want my football club back as they were, back at the top of the Scottish game. I want to turn back the clock to the times when we were the dominant force, and we are now moving into an era where we can start to think like that again. We have owners now that are going to come in with some ambition, that are going to have some money to spend, they're going to have the ability to actually back the club and give the club money to move on, and that's the key thing. That is the key thing. We've got to start, I think, whatever happens now, we've got, however many, I think it's 4 games left now between now and the end of the season. The sooner these 4 games are over, the better. The sooner the new manager is appointed, the better. The sooner we can move on as a football club, the better. The sooner we get rid of this present regime, and I'd love Patrick Stewart to go with them. He won't, unfortunately. We are going to be stuck with that woke lefty tool. But at the end of the day, we do need to get in, I think, obviously, a manager who knows the European level but knows how to manage at a domestic level. And people talk, they've got to have Scottish man. No, they haven't. They've got to have experience of being able to break down different types of teams. And one thing you'll find with the best managers in the world, the top coaches in world football, will be that they will have learnt several ways to break down opposition teams. If that team is going to attack them, how to break them down and beat them. If that team is going to sit in and low block and defend, how to overcome that low block. If that team is going to mid block, how to overcome a mid block and get in behind them. That is what the best coaches in the world do, and they don't have to have experience of that domestic style of football to be able to do that. It's because they are very talented at their job and they know how to do their job. And when it comes to appointing a new manager, whether that be Marco Rosa, Steven Gerrard, Gerhard Struber, Kevin Muscat, whoever, it's got to be the best person for the job based on their footballing ability, their coaching ability, not who they used to play for or how staunch or not they are. Whether or not they bleed red, white and blue doesn't matter, as long as they are good at what they do and they can get the best out of whatever squad is assembled. And we are going to need to work bloody hard over this summer to clear dead wood, like James Tavernier, like Cyril Dessers, like Robin Proper, out of this football club and bring in top talent that can actually move this football club forward. And that includes domestic talent, with likes of obviously Lyle Cameron, possibly Mulligan, possibly Penrice, possibly Miller, people like that, and also look at the foreign markets as well to bring in players. Guys, let me know your thoughts. I want to know what you're thinking. But like I said, yesterday needs to be the end of an era, the drawing of a line. The next season needs to be new manager, new captain, new squad. Let's get our football club back. Let's get this club back to where it is. Let's make Rangers great again. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, guys, on the way out, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And remember, we are the people.